All right, well, this is working. Let's figure out why the other part of this isn't working. Huh. All right. I just restarted my machine. I try to restart the machine before every stream, so sometimes it takes longer than others, which is why I'm a couple minutes late. If you're watching this on YouTube, you don't probably care that I'm a couple minutes late. You mainly just want me to get chopping. But let me figure out what's going on. Why you guys are not hearing the audio that you should be hearing. Oh my god. Nope, that just turned it off for me. That's probably in Streamlabs, which I don't know. Does Streamlabs not make enough money or something? Like, is it a company that doesn't make money? Like, why do they have the same like recurring issues? You make one application, guys. Wonder how many people work at Streamlabs. Have to look that up. How big a company is Streamlabs? Is it bigger than a 14-person part-time team? If so, then some of these issues are just unacceptable. The fuck is this? Sakaj, what's going on? Chaz Solo, Dark Inside. Creeping in. Watch out, I'm a bit spicy today. I've already said the F word on accident. I'm over here trying to fix Streamlabs. So if it's silent in your background, I'm trying to fix it right now. Hey Dram, what's up, Big Al? Yeah, let me continue to see if I can make the audio work in Streamlabs today the same way that it was working last time I used Streamlabs, because that's worth my time. Oh yeah, I do have coffee. Thank you for reminding me that I have coffee. That'll make me feel better. Here we go. There we go. Now you have audio, digital music. Good job, everybody. Thanks for the help. What's up, Orange Quake? Skin Shafi, that's a new name. But you must not be a new person. It's not telling me that you're new. But it's a new name. I don't recognize that name. Hey, Pattis. Let me go ahead while we're doing important things. Let me open Unity. Guys, today's stream may be a little boring. Than normal. Because I can't get onto the server. We got a bug. It's rare that this happens to us. We got a little login limpness, a little dysfunction. Oh my gosh, Nick. Oh my gosh. Why are you dropping in before you go to the hospital? It's too exciting. Is it just because you got nervous energy? That's so awesome. Oh, I was so curious about what's going on there. Now I know. I feel so cool. Knowing. Had a few spare minutes. Cool, man. Dude, I'm so excited for you guys. Yeah, that just put me in a better mood. I saw a YouTube clip while I was making coffee with somebody named Destiny. I guess they're a big streamer. And man, I was instantly annoyed within about a minute and a half of that dude talking. Oh yeah. So it's baby time for Nick. That's gonna be pretty amazing. Can't wait for the update. Tubby Hubby said, morning, seen a few of your recent vids on YouTube. Oh, cool. Hopefully it was the Eminem one. I don't know. Maybe it was the EQ interview ones. Either way, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And thank you so much for the sub. Appreciate it. If you guys are watching a VOD on YouTube, it's an unusual start to this one, but I'm sure you've picked up on why. Destiny is acquired taste for sure. I don't know that I will ever acquire that taste. If you're out there, Destiny buddy, I'm sure you got a bazillions of followers and fans. You don't need me. So no hard feeling. No hard feeling. Justin, you got a doctor's appointment today as well? I hope everything is going to be good on that front for you, buddy. Hey, Nicodemus. I need to turn down this awesome music in my ears. It's probably a little loud for you guys as well, but since not much is going on, we'll just let the music rock a little bit. If you're watching the VOD, thank you for doing that. Feel free to skip ahead and see if this one gets a little bit more action-packed later on. I don't know that it will. Or just, you know, if you haven't seen any of these, go check out one of the other 120 videos I think we have up. Check out some of the cool art stuff from Pattis or Goblin or Zukin. Yeah, I'm feeling better, Nicodemus. I wound up so that cold last week was just it was all just cough and congestion. It wasn't super horrible, but it was a pain in the ass to try to talk and stuff. I forgot that I streamed like Thursday or whatever it was. And yeah, it was just wasn't the greatest, but definitely not the worst I've ever felt. But I feel a lot better. Went to Hamburg. I totally forgot that Jasmine had a class, like a surgery training thing that she had to do. So we went up there for the weekend and wound up hanging out, and overall pretty good. Pretty good. I definitely don't sound like doo-doo anymore. Oh, good. I didn't realize I sounded so doo-doo-y last time until I got in here and you guys started telling me how doo-doo-y I sounded. So a couple of things that I can do today while we're waiting on a fix that allows me to enter the game is I can do some database work for just getting some quests in that I've gotten written up. So we can do a little database work while chatting. I could probably place some props in here as well. Throw some barrels around and stuff like that. And then, I mean, what else am I doing right now? Over the weekend, it's stuff that it doesn't show well on, stream necessarily. Like, I'm just doing some documentation, been doing some writing behind the scenes. Luna is also getting some writing done and her first quests implemented, which is pretty exciting. The stuff that I've been documenting, we've already had some tools documentation in place. Nick and I have been trying to do a little bit as we go, but like I've really been going through doing a very thorough pass on. This light's so bright. Let me see if I can make it less bright. Just try to do an extremely thorough pass, because with Luna getting on the team, it made it pretty obvious when I was like explaining to her how to set up an NPC, etc. I was like, oh man, pretty obvious that we should just have this stuff documented in a way where it could just point you at Confluence, which is our internal wiki, and boom. And so is really started looking at it like, all right, we've got how do we implement it? You know, how do we set up an NPC was in there. I just added some pics to the documentation and a couple additional notes and stuff. But it's like getting people used to hopping into the database and, you know, creating their NPC and then considering like all of the stuff that you associate with an NPC. Like NPCs can be merchants, right? So you need to set up their merchant, set them up in a merchant table, buy list, sell list. They've got abilities, they've got loot. So you got to set up your loot table and then your NPC loot table and all of this stuff. So yeah, basically just started digging through that. And the cool thing too is, I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's not like I've been super on point with regards to when we've had functionality added, going through and using every bit of the functionality and understanding it and see what's working and not working and all that other stuff. And so now as I've been implementing stuff like the stuff that I was showing you last week, this camp here and like the transition and stuff, it's been cool because, you know, naturally the more I get in and start actually making content and getting creative, the more I find like, oh, is this functionality there or not or whatever. Was it there and it no longer works? All that good shit. So the documentation's been nice in kind of just going through every piece and just trying to make sure that like everything we use, like, so if we come in here and use the zone panel to load data sets, right? Like taking even this and going, all right, what does each one of these buttons do? Cool. Shaded dunes, boom. Show entities, I don't think does anything. So it's like flagging that in the documentation of like, I don't know. I don't know that it actually does anything. You know, and so then coming through here and breaking all this stuff down as well. And yeah. So it's nice because there's also shit that I was looking at and like I forgot. I'm like, all right, spawn timer, normal boss. Where's that even defined? And I was about to like write a note of like, I don't know where that is. And then found it in here. It's like, okay, cool. So come into the zone. This is where we're defining that stuff. Right. So it's a great refresher. It's great for Luna. It's great for us to actually start to pull some of that stuff out there and make new bugs or feature requests for programming. And it's also great for the future. For if we decide we need more people on the design team, then we should have it so that ramping those folks up is even faster. So Nicodemus said, naming conventions documents so team knows how to label stuff. I think we've got one naming convention page for, and that isn't even a naming convention, it's just rules for NPC names. Naming conventions are weird ones, man. I've spent so many weeks of my life over the years in naming convention discussions. And I think what I found recently, I think there were some articles that I saw talking about the fact that, especially on a product like this that's going to be around for quite a while, is that naming conventions can actually create a certain amount of overhead that, you know, there's the initial overhead and then over time they break down anyways. But things, like, at least on the data side, it's so easy to query the data and find stuff that you need and use tags and things like that. I'm not overly worried about if we don't have a great naming convention. We have like a little baby naming convention for, you know, like zone prefix and stuff like that. I guess on the art side, where I know they've really been looking at like animation naming convention and stuff like that. I could see where that's definitely more helpful. It sucks until I get a new coffee cup. I've just got to drink that bucket of coffee as fast as humanly possible, so it doesn't just get all cold on me. Big Al said, my day job now, I see old naming conventions coming to a head. COBOL shit that's been around for 40 years. Yeah. It's funny. One of our team members works at your company as well. I asked. He answered, it's true. I didn't realize there's like, he said there's like 50,000 of you guys. I'm not going to say who. That's his privacy, man. If you really want to know, you gotta do your own sleuthing. Wallason? HSP? Thank you for the follow. Yeah, so like I said, guys, usually I'll come in here and it'll be a mix of playing around with stuff and then hopping in the game, but let me double check. We've been unable to connect to the server for the last 2 days. Why don't I get a coffee warmer to put beside me on the desk? Probably for the same reason that I've been complaining about the coffee cup and I haven't fixed that problem in the last 2 months either. I'm waiting for Christmas. When you get to be my age, you've got to like hold off on certain things so that there's actually Christmas gifts that can be purchased for you. Pilgrim, John. Spoiler alert, John. You've got a content update for your game, don't you? You guys have added new content to Salt 2, right? Let me look. Steam Salt 2. Pause. Yeah. It's October 28th, so it's not like brand new, but John from our team, the Pilgrim one here in chat. He is one of the what? How big's your team? It's like 2 of you? 3 of you? That just released Salt 2 on Steam. And it looks like there's a new island type. Have to hop in. Nice. And lots of fixes. Cool. Arya Shrenek, thank you for the follow. Who done broke the game? You want a finger point and shame? So we were having some problems with GitHub recently. The environment art guys, Pattis and Baloo, were running into some problems with prefabs breaking or something like that with GitHub, and just generally speaking, we were thinking about having something that was maybe, I don't know, a little bit more robust for managing our assets and things like that. And what wound up happening was we evaluated Plastic and decided we were going to switch over to Plastic because we thought that would help with that problem and allow for easier like merging of certain types of work in Unity, etc. And so we last week, I think it was last week, we switched over to Plastic, started integrating that into our continuous our CI/CD continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline, and immediately ran into some problems on that front. And then Ali spent and this is while Ali was traveling, which is, you know, double unfortunate for him, like, because he's traveling, got a bunch of stuff going on, and then we ran into these problems with plastic, and he was just like working with the guys, like trying to get these issues worked out. And after a couple of days of us not being able to log in, etc., which is extremely rare for this project, like we're almost, I'd say the bulk of the time since the very first days of us getting together, like that first week, we've been able to, you know, work pretty unhindered, right? Like, so for this to run into, you know, the issues that we had, we're like, oh shit. So yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I was talking to Ali in the morning, was just like, can we, how hard is it for us to bounce back to GitHub for now? And you know, is if we're not able to fix the issues with plastic, like today, what's the, you know, basically what's it look like if we go back to GitHub? And he was like, yeah, it should only take like a day to basically get us back and then try to address the problems that that Pattis was having. So that's where we're at now. I think he was hopeful. Like there was a message from him like 2 in the morning or some shit, some craziness, where he thought he had it fixed and then it looked like it wasn't fixed. And then I hopped in this morning after that and hit play and didn't get on either. So that's the state of things at the moment. Let's see, I missed a couple messages up there. Let's see. Oh, on the naming convention thing, Corthan said, found keywords to be more useful than specific naming formats from a sound design perspective. Yeah, I think if there's something easy, like I was saying for us, like prefixes for NPCs, if I come here, like I can do something like NH and at least quickly see Night Harbor stuff. But honestly, I just do so much, you know, it's like, whatever, if I need a skeleton, I'm just gonna hit skele anyway, right? You know, but with this super simple like filtering, without even getting into crazy queries, if I can't find it in the NPCs, their tags or their human readable ID or their name or some other attribute, then that's a challenge I haven't run into. And it's the same thing with items and stuff. Who else said something else on the front? Anybody? Oh, Nicodemus is going through naming conventions. I mean, if they work for you, then there's nothing wrong with that. C-Jack said, we tried plastic on a previous project and ended up going back to Git. Still default to Git most of the time. Git Kraken license cost is worth it though. Git Kraken. Git Kraken. Let me look that up. I wonder, I'm sure Ollie knows about it, but one of these days maybe I'll discover something from one of you that he doesn't know and Git Kraken. Legendary Git tools. Shit, I want to click that link for sure. You guys are got me. No, Git Kraken was popular when I was looking into them for my Neener project. But it's definitely more enterprise, costly, and may make a lot more sense for your legit project. Well, thank you for calling us legit. So nice of you. All right. So we'll do this. maybe open another one of these. Big Al said, super impressed by this salt too. And John responded, thanks. It's just 2 of us working on it and in early access. So it has a bit of jank to it here and there. But it's been a very fun project. I find it's a very relaxing game. The tagline that... didn't you have like a tagline? Somebody mentioned it in chat the other, like when we were talking about it before, it was like PvE, Sea of Thieves for introverts. And I thought that that actually sounded pretty cool. Man, I'm jonesing to click the play button and get in here. Have we hit a limit to how many mobs, NPCs we can put in a zone without performance issues? Haven't seen anything close to that yet. And if you look at this zone, I mean, it looks like a lot maybe because you see things like the go-tos. But this isn't, you know, even with us spawning, what is it, probably like 10 here, 12 there. 10 there. I think there's something like 15 or something. Ooh, bam. Right on the money. 15 over at the Crocs. This one's a little bit more. What do we got? Spawn count of 50 in here. Oof. A count of 125. Really? There's that many? It's so crazy. This is so much bigger than it looks then. Anyways, even with several hundred NPCs up in here, it's just haven't run into anything resembling a performance concern. Nicodemus, you did see the video where we were in Night Harbor and we wound up like Nick and Ollie were testing something and we they like basically aggroed everything in the zone and we're running around with, I'd have to guess if it was everything in the zone, probably minimum over 100 surrounding them, but a couple hundred NPCs probably. And yeah, it wasn't. Ollie's pretty confident on this front, so excuse me. Let me switch data sets and let me also load in all the subscenes. Mr. Sexter69, thank you for the follow. Ooh. Did it just get warmer in here? It's actually been pretty cold in Germany. Looked like a circle pit, yeah. It looked like Lamb of God at the festival that we went to a couple months ago. It was my wife's goal to crowd surf during Lamb of God while they played the song Redneck, which you can't argue with that, I guess. And she did it. She was very excited. Yeah, let me pop back real quick. And then we'll come back. Sup, Toofs? Good morning. Good morning to everybody that came in earlier while I was rambling and stuff, and I missed you. I appreciate all of you. So yeah, basically the way that we have done all of the environment, like outdoor environment stuff, all the topology was just coming with a fairly simple mesh, simple grid. This one's actually left over. It's been reworked a couple times. It needs to be worked some more. If Pattis is listening, maybe that's something I can do a little bit of as well. If I've been nervous to touch this asset, this mesh, because what this was we started out in Blender, and this is actually the first little bit of something that we made 2 years ago, like my first experiment or foray into Blender. And then I came in and just basically grabbed each point and started pulling points. There's no like procedural deformation, there's no displacement mapping or whatever, but the idea with this was to make it look as old school as possible. And for me, having it look like this, having there be very strong sort of simple shapes, as opposed to like that smoothness that you started to see starting in like 2002 maybe. Like you saw it even when I was on EQ, where we started to see everything start to get more rounded. And then they got the little bit higher res textures that started to get a little bit more like sparkly and shit. I'm not as big a fan of the rounded look as I am like very sort of obvious poly look. And I think one of the other things that it does really nicely for us, because we're focused on sort of leveraging lighting as much as possible with an old school look, and then the hand painted textures, is I think because so much of it is kind of sharp and rigid, you get these really nice shadows that are just kind of clean, like pop. Right, so I'm not an artist, I'm not an art director, I'm not a whatever. I probably have watched fewer GDC talks on art than most of you, but I got opinions, and my gut's been okay for me over the years. So we've been going with my gut early on, and then what happened is we got artists on the team, and then they've been able to come in and like Pattis basically we were working in Blender, then we switched over to Pro Builder, because Pro Builder is like dead simple, so it kind of again enforces constraints that are helpful for what we're doing. And then that shit started breaking, so Pattis then took it into Maya and like cleaned it up and then exported FBX, and we're here now. But Pattis just said terrain is fine to edit with Pro Builder or Polybrush. Cool. So maybe I'll do a little bit of that as well. I was going to come over here because you were asking about NPCs. So I'll show you this now, even with this like placeholder. It only takes a second here. I'll just hop over real quick. Don't save. So the other thing to consider with whether or not we can support as many NPCs as we'd like to. Let me load the subscenes. This is a continuation of Nicodemus's question. Is the fact that we haven't broken this giant ass city into zones yet, and we still have the ability to do that. Right? So while Pattis and Baloo continue to build out this beast of a city, we'll be looking at it as we start to do like a denser NPC population. One of the things on my list, I've got a number of things I committed to that I need to get done before this, but one of the things I'm really excited about playing around with is coming in and starting to do a city base pop, prior to getting too into the scheduled content or whatever, but just do an example of the city base pop, probably in this naval garrison and or in like part of this market district that's very playable. And so I think one of the things that we've gotten used to in a lot of cities is you go to a city and the assumption is that it's kind of this like no combat hub for, you know, quests and other things, as opposed to what I remember back in the day when we were playing EQ, and there was, I think, wasn't it that we were waiting on like an expansion, whether it was Kunark or Velius or something, but I remember there was a period where an expansion hadn't come out yet and people just started killing entire cities. Like they were just trying to see how much of a city they could kill. And what I'm really wanting to do is make it so that if you decide you want to come over here and wreck your faction with these guys, but start treating it as a high level camp, then it actually functions, right? We've thought about mob placement. Mobs are itemized. They're rares potentially. A lot of the higher levels are going to be, you know, static, trainers and guildmasters and shit like that. But I really want to play around with that concept of treating this entire city as a potential adventure and combat space, right? And so we've talked about in previous streams where there'll be factions that are maybe counter or antagonistic to other factions. So maybe in this part of the city, there's a faction that if you're to faction up with them, then it's going to be obvious that you've lost faction. You're going to be essentially going over and treating this part of the city as a combat space, or, you know, kind of a content area beyond just going and using them as merchants or quest dispensers and shit. So yeah, anyways, really excited to get in and play with that. And if we find that having 600, 1,000 NPCs starts to become a problem for whatever reason, then keep in mind we've already talked about the idea of dividing the city up as discrete zones with zone lines once we've got it built. So we can always fall back on that, and then we'll be good again. And zone lines are fun. So Gilmere said, I think it's quite amazing to watch this unfold through the months. Very similar to how high-tech engineering projects go, so don't fret. Just go with about 2,000 more people. Go with about 2,000 more people? What do you mean? Hire 2,000 more people? Or are you guys going to go round up 2,000 more people and have them come play with us? Which I'm hoping. Corthan says, love the approach you're taking with the city design as a possible camp. That sort of design brings the sandbox feeling, opportunity for adventure, and whatever you decide to do as a player. It's possibilities, right? The mystery and possibilities. Anywhere where we can insert mystery and possibility, just because that makes it feel like a place. Mystery and possibility. But if you can see the patterns, and the patterns aren't that, you know, deep or exciting or whatever, for me at least, it gets real boring real quick. I think Raph hits on that in the theory of fun, but the CJX said I'm really missing tools like ProBuilder and Polymesh and Godot. Ollie's a huge fan of Godot, but I have not messed with it at all. But let's see if I can pull some polys and stuff and have it be worthwhile over here in this zone. Let me turn off this data. We don't need it. Let me get, oops, tools, ProBuilder window. Excuse me. All right. Let's see. I haven't done this in quite a while, so let's see if I mess something up here. Oh, there we go. Dargit said, I'm kind of bursting, so wanted to share with eminent friends vets in chat that I might have an opportunity for a production role at a game studio. Just got the intro to executive producer, hiring manager, and super stoked. Right on. Nice. Nice. I'm stoked for you. Maze, thank you for 27 months. Where's Ollie? I think Ollie's either caught up in work stuff, work, or he's still asleep. And if he were to sleep for 3 days, it would not be enough. Esan said, good morning. So happy to tune in for the stream. Too cold to hike just yet. What? Even I have a hat on. Yeah, it's actually starting to get chilly here finally. I just heard my dog run down the stairs. Did you guys hear a doorbell? I didn't hear a doorbell. I'm waiting on a delivery. I may have to hop up at some point and run down and grab delivery. Supposed to have a couple books dropped off. Gomir said, no, most of the stuff I work on has thousands of folks working on it. Aviation development. We're just making a comparison to show you. It does not matter how many resources you have. Same issue. Ah, okay. Man, it's been so long since I actually did any environment work. I wonder if I remember how this works. I don't think I do. All right. Let me see. After Pat has spent all this time getting these points to line up, I don't want to jank them up for him. Oh, is this gonna like refresh every single time I touch a vert? If so, then I know what we're not going to be doing today. Let's see if this does that. Ooh, 2 for 2. Hey, John. When can you test Maze? Eventually. Eventually you're going to be testing. I do firmly believe that eventually you will be testing this game. It's because I've heard that you're very good at breaking games, Maze. Can't you soon? It's trademarked. Do you think EG7 got that when they bought the company? The edges are lined up and not just intersecting. These edges. This is one of those reasons why I stopped using Pro Builder in here. Yeah, the sand texture shader is something Ollie whipped up like really early on. And he's mentioned there's some stuff he's got to fix about it. But I've always really loved this. It was a nice sort of inspiration piece, example kind of thing. May says I'm the best at breaking games. I'm no bullshit. I've actually heard that you're pretty damn good at breaking games. T-Con asked something. Is that something that'd be viable in this game as well? Let me scroll all the way up so I can figure out. Okay. T-Con said, I started back on P99 green and I'm killing fell with guards on my necromancer, and I absolutely enjoy the process of avoiding the GM mobs that can one-shot me while killing guards in the city. I did this in Agak and also Freeport. And then, is that something that would be viable in this game as well? Absolutely. Absolutely. What did Pettis just say? I would hide the ocean shader, otherwise you keep selecting it through the terrain mesh, which gets annoying fast. Okay. And then John responded, you can also toggle the no touchy for the ocean in the hierarchy if you ever need to see it and not worry with clicking it. Alright, so got ocean sound. When you say toggle the touchy, which seems, that sounded just kind of gross when I said it. Toggle the touchy. The little hand next to the eye that you clicked. Okay, no touchy. No touchy on. Cool. I learned something new every single time I do any sort of actual in-editor work with you guys around. I can't believe you taught me how to use frickin' Blender as quickly as you did. Thank you very much. Maybe I'll move these later, but I know you guys aren't here for action. If you're new here and you are looking for action, or if you're watching a VOD and you're like, man, I'm really hoping there's a lot of action on this VOD, then I hate to disappoint you. It's probably not going to be the case. Probably not going to be the case that that's what happens for you. This is action. Oh, I introduced my wife while we were walking back from dinner with one of her friends in Hamburg. I introduced her to Cypress Hill because she had never listened to old Cypress Hill. Speaking of action. And the only reason why I thought about that is as soon as I read you say action, I thought, time for some action, just a fraction of friction. I got the clearance to run the interference, which is Cypress Hill. I can't remember any quotes ever, even if I've used them a million times, but for whatever reason, 90s hip-hop and R&B lyrics are just embedded in my brain. Maybe my brain was more plastic back then. Had a little more plasticity in my brains. Plasticity in my membranes. Plasticity in my brains. Cool. This is clearly not how this is going to... It does make me insane in my membrane. Sure you played Hits from the Bong? It was one of the... It was like the older one. High octane, white knuckle, vert moving. Well, it's funny. Okay, it's not just hip hop. Because as soon as you said high octane, white knuckle, vert moving, I immediately heard in my brains the intro for that one White Zombie song. Back when Miss Sean Isolt was killing it on the bass. Black Sunshine, I think. Black Sunshine. A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game can be updated and patched. A quote from Michael Scott. Golden Gloves. Why can't we have both? Warcop 51. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, so those of you that are just tuning in to the Loving Robot Power Hour or 3, apologies until honestly I think Ollie either got really tied up with real life work or he's just sleeping, because every time I thought he was actually going to bed last night, apparently according to Slack, he did not. So he really needs to catch up on sleep. That poor guy does not sleep enough. Yeah, so we got this thing happening over here. We got this thing over here where the old road just kind of smashes against the rocks. All of this is likely to be redone. Keep that in mind. Once we free Pattis and Baloo from their lair of Dante's Inferno, that is having to build a gigantic, humongous night harbor, then they'll probably hop out here and like redo these environment zones over the course of 30 minutes. Eminem. High action stream. World terraforming. Moving desert bushes. Coming to a computer near you eventually. Are there any plans for procedurally generated prop scenery placement, or do you expect to manually place everything? I understand the value of handcrafted, just wondering if a mixture of planned, focused on important POIs, let the computer fill the gap. It's been discussed. I think when the art nerds come out here and actually do their work, we'll probably talk about painting in some props and things. But I'm gonna be real honest with you. I don't know, man. Like, this will be a discussion that we have to have. But what we're gonna have to do is maybe find a way to get some legit, real feedback from folks, especially maybe after some people have been in and run around and kind of see what you think, because games are always different when you're watching them like this versus actually running around and looking at it. Somebody said that the other day as well. I thought somebody on the team that was like, oh man, like running around in here, it feels a lot different than what I was watching. Maybe that was Luna. Anyway, so here are my thoughts on this, which is kind of a redundant freaking thing to say, because of course it's like when people are like, in my opinion, yeah, no shit, it's your opinion. It's coming out of your mouth. Unless you're quoting somebody, unless you're saying, well, Pattis's opinion is this, then my assumption is it's your opinion. Stop telling me it's your opinion. And if you add humble opinion in there, then I'm really like, seriously? Seriously? Humble? Are you being ironic? Anyway, in my humble opinion, and I'm not being ironic because I'm extremely humble. I'm probably the humblest person you're ever going to meet. The just sort of placing a bush here and there allows for so much freaking negative space, right? I really, and this may be me just, you know, getting high on my own farts in this little room over here, or whatever it is, but the, noted for future reference, do not use IMO. It's like going through search and delete in Discord right now. BDC Retro says, I think people say IMO because people don't want to seem like they're stating things as fact. It's fair. And if you use IMO or IMHO and you've been using it in Discord, I don't want you to feel like I'm picking on you. I'm just riffing. I'm being silly. being silly. So don't worry if you use it. But you can, in this day and age, you can tell when something's a fact or an opinion, because whatever application you're using will have a banner at the bottom that says, this is not a fact. Click here to go to the highly paid nonprofit that will let you know whether or not it is a fact or just a false opinion. IMHO feels passive aggressive. Then maybe I should use it more. I'm the most passive aggressive person you're ever gonna meet. Anyways, to the point. To be honest, is a bigger deal than.
Hey, long time no see. Missed y'all.
Hey, Homestead, what's going on, buddy? I think about you every once in a while. I really do. Because I don't keep up with the Web3 stuff enough. And then when I do think about that, I think about you, and I hope everything's going good for you. Good to see you, dude. To be honest is a bigger deal than, in my opinion. Is that person generally not honest and has to make it clear this time they're being honest? I use that a lot, so that's the reason. Usually I'm bullshitting you. And to be honest, flows a lot better than what I would normally say, which is, this time I'm seriously not bullshitting you. Kind of like, with all due respect, whatever follows that is gonna be hard. With all due respect, sir. Yeah, so anyway, I've got so many bad like mannerisms. Keith, when he was cutting the Mandrake videos, was like, you say and a lot. I'm like, womp womp. Well, I'm glad I do that for 3 hours a day, twice a week. I'm sure everybody appreciates my inability to articulate shit cleanly. Sorry, that did nothing to block that sound from the mic. Everybody says and a lot. It's normal speech. Not when you're an internet professional, CGAC, if that is your real name. Bless your heart is not a compliment in the South. No, it's not. But it's still sweet. I see what you did there, Homestead. So, all of this, back to the point, is you guys should let me know, especially later on when you're in and running around, if you feel that just having sparse objects, you know, these little bushes here. I went over to this other camp and threw in some little boulders and shit like that, and we can pepper in some barrels and other stuff, whatever. But the idea was just to kind of have these spaces where, okay, you've got some shrubbery, you got some trees, you got some rocks. But when you're out here, you don't need a lot of that, right? And my concern is if we start using tools that allow us to easily paint on bushes and stuff, then in grass, and then we're just gonna get crazy with it, right? Now, you're like, yeah, but this is a desert. What about a temperate climate, dummy? I understand that, but my thought is, if we're to make this green and use some different trees, then for the most part, not entirely, but for the most part, it would be the same approach. We paint the texture in to the we paint some of the detail into the texture, old school style. Let me go back to Robert's playlist here. We're gonna loop the playlist. We're gonna start that over, and then we're gonna switch back here. Now, if we did have that kind of tool, though, or maybe we just need some other types of vegetation, then it would be easy to do a little bit more in some certain areas here. But yeah, so far I'm pretty happy with it. We'll see if it holds up. Anyways, it is a It is a thing to be discussed with the artsy fartsy folks. We got these from Marie back in the day. She's the one that she painted the texture for the tree, and these little shrubs, and then these water plants. I was gonna move these, but for whatever reason, like their little whatchamacallit, the gizmo thing is really offset, and I was like, does that indicate that there's something weird going on? I was gonna ask Pattis about that. I was like, in Blender, I know how to basically make the handle reappear, like center the whatever it's called point on the object, but here I'm like, does this mean it's associated with some other shit somewhere as well? And I don't want to like try to move that little bush and then wind up breaking something. So as you can see, I'm a skilled art professional up in here, but you know what, whatever allows us to slowly chip away at getting this thing good to go. Chipping away. Though I gotta say, if I was more of an artsy person, and I know that can come over time. Man, when I was working on the placeholder environment stuff, that was super relaxing. Not a bad job. Not a bad job to have. Nicodemus says you will not retain the old school feel with foliage bushes. You mean if there's too many of them, or do you mean a certain style of bush? You can change how the pivot, that's the word, pivot. You can change how the pivot is determined. You probably have to set it to pivot. If you switch it to center, it'll move to the average center of the mesh. Oh, let's go take a look at that. But Pattis, do you know how to make this stop doing this every time I mouse up? Or is that just one of those unsolvable problems that we ran into with using ProBuilder that eventually made you go back to Maya? Moving, rotating, and duplicating a single rock is the most relaxing thing on the planet. It honestly, it's pretty far up there. I'm glad I didn't discover that early in my career. If I discovered how relaxing it was. So I joined the industry thinking I was going to be an environment artist, believe it or not, just because I had done a little bit of like mod work, some Quake mod stuff, before moving to California. Object select. So, Pattis's option is the drop-down toggle above the ProGrid's info. Tools, ProGrids. I don't believe you now. Tools, ProGrids. Object center pivot. ProBuilderize. What if I only have one object selected? No, it's not giving me that. You already have ProGrids open. It's snapping the info to the top left corner of the viewport. Ah, this guy. Just above the 0.5. Oh, okay. Let's see what happens here. Pivot. Center. Pivot. Center. Yeah, so see, it's way over there. But I can't see anything else that's highlighted. Yeah, the grass. I was gonna move this grass because I noticed it and was like, but as soon as I saw that it was kind of offset like this, I was like, is there something else way over there that it's touching? And I didn't want to jank up anything. Alright, so we come here. Do. Do I have two objects selected? Alarm? No, I don't. I shouldn't. I'm gonna leave those grasses right where they are for now, and that'll be something that the dudes can deal with later. Those grasses will end up going away when I eventually remove the file completely also. Are you threatening? Are you threatening to delete the game, Pattis? Is that what's going on? Have you had enough? Pattis is like, those grasses will go away when I delete all this shit. I'm like, whoa, you need to calm down, soldier. We need to have a conference. Do the grasses have LOD? I don't believe so. Nicodemus said I modded the original Wolfenstein 3D to look like an office cubicle farm for my dad. Took a picture of his boss and made a mob of him for my dad to shoot paintballs at him. My dad would fire project folders at the player. The boss would fire project folders at the player. I don't know that they were paintballs, but I appreciate that you made the story more work safe, Nicodemus. I can see Pattis going post slowly, so nice and chill. He's suppressing rage that will eventually overflow. I don't know that I don't know that he's suppressing rage at all. Have you seen the things that he builds? He's got his outlet for his rage is probably in a fully 3D printed mech that is just sitting in his living room waiting to rampage the world. If he's nice and chill because he knows that he could attack us all with his giant mech at any time. He's like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. Anytime he starts to get frustrated, he just goes in the living room, sits down next to the mech, just strokes it. He and the giant mech watch TV. Like, let's watch some Star Wars, guys. Just stroking his mech. You guys are so... You guys and your juvenile humor, I cannot condone that. I would never even think such things. He's got one of those got one of them power loader suits from Alien. Oh man, that movie. While I'm in here janking things up, you know what I need to do? I need to... Your wife just asked you what you were watching. Nicodemus, why are you talking about stroking the mech again? Are you back on the internet? So, Pattis, is this more of an Ollie question? How hard was it to set up this switch that has the lantern? No, the torch switch. Yeah, I'll have to dig into that, because what I'm thinking is I want to make a new switch that is a campfire, similar to the torch one that we've been using, because I want to experiment with this area as a unmaintained camp, that then we can play around with some of the ideas that have come up. I know Luna wrote up some ideas for camps, and Nick's had some ideas, and we saw some cool stuff with Turtle WoW. Blah blah blah. So the allowing the players to build and maintain the campfires here. While I'm in here, I might as well. Campfire. That's campfires. Campfire. Can I duplicate you? I can duplicate you. So, was going to come back and rework this area a little bit and have it be a one of those camps that we've been talking about. Players are able to build and maintain. And then we'll start linking maybe some of the camp benefits, etc. into this. Didn't seem super hard though. I need to dive into it a little bit more. May have to add a switch to the campfire's material since it has an emissive on it. Interesting. Yeah, I've got to document that system anyway, so as part of documenting the system, I'll try to get answers on the art side as well and include that in the documentation. Players build and maintain camps? How? Dargith asked. We'll save that for another stream. That'll be a thing that we'll be playing with and then eventually settling on a little bit, but it is for another time. I'm not teasing, I'm being honest with you. I'm just being honest. If I was teasing, I'd be like, we know exactly how we're going to be doing that, and we're just not telling. No, Luna had some ideas that she brought with her, and has written them up and posted them, and we've got some ideas that we've had for a bit, and we're just gonna experiment and discuss, and then camps are nice. You're waiting for sofa forts. That will be in the city. That'll be in the player housing. Subtooth said, you may have answered this, so I apologize in advance. Will there be a boat system similar to EQ, or is that system so flawed and archaic that it's not worth redoing? There will be a boat system, and we've actually done a 1.0 version of it, and it worked, and then something stopped working. Shocker. And then Nick attacked the boat, and the boat killed Nick, and then we took the boat out. But you can find, there's an old video where we were riding around here, and it's really fun, to be honest with you. I just said to be honest with you because I could be lying. It's really fun to get on the boat and then cruise along this strip here and then turn around and come back. It was a really neat experience. It came from user space. Thank you for the follow. Pretty sure that was a name of a Misfit song. Boatmancer class confirmed. Maybe not alluded to, maybe. Guten Tag, Ishiwatari. Wie geht's dir? Subtoofs did that, here, I'll show you in data. I'll show you in data, Subtoofs. Nope, not that, not that. Big Al's gotta run. Moving into a new place. Oh shit, man. Have fun. See you, buddy. Hey, Stoic. Here, let's load the Night Harbor, the Shaded Dunes dataset. This over here, Path 500 was our boat. Path 500. Oh. I swear it went further, but maybe that's old. Not 100% current with the VODs. Yeah, there's 120 of them. I would think that most people aren't, so no worries on that front. This may not make, all the sense in the world in terms of geo, but whatever. It's better than the road just ending in the middle of nowhere. Archmage, thank you for 5 months. It's good to see you. M&M boats go nuts when they smell blood in the water. Hey, Goblin. The idea that you guys came up with for the mimic that's a boat is brilliant. You cannot let us not put that in game. And we can do ghost boats, don't worry. Ghost boats, we'll do. You want to know why? Because we're going to make boats anyways, and all we got to do is put the ghost shader on the boats and put the ghost shader on the NPCs, and we got a whole... Anything we can put ghost shader on, to be honest. Why am I saying to be honest so much now? Because I cursed myself. I've cursed myself. Son of a gun. In my opinion, to be honest, anything we can put a ghost shader on, it's just free content. Ghost shader, ice shader, fire shader, sand shader. It's just one more NPC that we get for free. Ghost shader, the entire world, sell it as an expansion. Riker, you laugh. I think a little spirit world shader is not a bad idea. Everything is just a beetle batter snake with different sizes and shaders. Yeah. What's wrong with that? Don't judge us. Don't you judge me. What? Play more of the playlist, please. Illumination shader makes the mob glow. Maybe denotes a spell effect active on player. Illumination shader. And then we'll have a toxic boat. This boat is radioactive. Slim shader. Nice one, Golden Gloves. Why is that grass hidden under that cliff? Secret grass. One of the great mysteries. "20-some years from now, your kids are going to be coming in, talking to somebody from the team who just started streaming, be like, why is that grass under that rock? We've wondered about it for 20 years. Subtube said, on a previous VOD you dabbled with P99, still do or nay? How about still want to? Cannot seem to find the time to do much of anything else lately. So it is a yay if I can fix my poor time management. P99 green. If they would please start a new P99 server, then I would just have to, I don't know, I'd have to stop doing chores or something and play during the day while Jasmine's at work. Yeah, I've heard 2023 as well, and it's a super exciting prospect. Somebody just said goodbye. Who just said goodbye? Please save quit. See you, bud. Ooh, save. Good points. Good point. Holy shit. Yeah, I don't have that command. As much as I joked about it for Goblin and Zukin, I have not provided you with that command, and I'm glad you mentioned it. I missed somebody up there. The guy who made games said hi a little bit ago, and I did not say hi back, and I feel bad. Hello. Dude. The whole it takes its time on mouse up kind of situation we have going on right now, though. Oof, my goodness. It's annoying. It's annoying, y'all. Y'all, it is annoying, y'all. Almost as annoying as... I'm not even gonna say that. Switch to... I don't know if I rolled a tune on red or not. The only reason why I didn't was just the super low server pop. If red had the same number of people playing as green, then I definitely would have spent some time there. I am not one of those red haters. But it seemed like the population was low enough that you had to that you'd have to like go to a Discord or something and be like, hey, anybody else around? Do you want to come you want to come gank me while I'm waiting for this item to drop? Stoic gifted Swish 2 a gift sub. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your generosity, Stoic. Yeah, for those of you that are tuned in to this very special broadcast a bit late, we have two things going on. One, we've got a tiny little issue. I'm just going to assume it's a tiny little issue that we're trying to fix, so I can't get onto the server and run around at the moment. One of those rare moments when we're not able to actually get in and play. So that's the bad news. The good news is any moment or any little bit now, if he hasn't already run off, Nick is going to be running to the hospital in anticipation of his first child, which is pretty incredible. So those are good news. Now get back to work. No, come on, man. Yeah, I mean, kids seem awesome. Be like, wouldn't it be cool to program one of those? Think I'd be a cool dad? I think I'd be an amazingly cool dad. But my wife is super not into kids. When I was a very young man, I took care of a newborn for a while. When I was 20. I had a girlfriend, eventually sort of that army style ex-wife where we were together. I don't know. We were only together for like a year and change. Yeah, when I met her, she was like a month pregnant, I think. Something like that. I was like, well, but you seem like a rad person, so screw it. We'll figure it out. No big deal. Yeah, so I was there for like the whole rest of her pregnancy, the birth, and all of that. And then yeah, it was a big deal. It was one of those situations where you don't necessarily realize how different a person can be until after that baby comes and stuff. And I was like, you know what? As much as I'm a traditional dude and like doing the right thing and have a romantic streak, I'm not gonna be raising somebody else's kid while they're out partying and shit. So We had to nip that one in the bud. But now her daughter, who I took care of like the first 6 months or something like that. Yeah, now she's like in her 20s. Like a full-on grown-up dude. Super cool kid. So, yeah, every once in a while when like we get on a topic of kids or whatever, it's, you know, people be like, "Oh, well, but you know, if you blah blah." I'm like, "No, I've done it. I've done the diaper changey, screamy, stinky part of it." I think having a kid would be pretty rad during those really sort of formative programmable years. But when they turn, yeah, hopefully it's the situation where it doesn't turn into like a teenage rebellion, kid pissed off at you, blah 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 kind of thing. That'd be pretty tiring. I'm getting pretty old for that as well. I'm 47, almost 48. So then like you know, if the kid's like 15, man. Kids are not easy to program. Yeah, fair enough. Oh no, I mean, in theory, in you know, I understand like in terms of the ability to have a kid. I know that's still out there. Like, what's his face, or is that one talk show guy? Larry King. Larry King had a kid when he was like 82 or some shit. So no, I get that it's physiologically possible. Just my goal is to live vicariously through others. Hopefully create scenarios in an environment in which other people are able to comfortably pursue things like having kids and stuff. It's the mother's age that matters. Well, second only to the mother's desire to actually have a kid. Might want to consider a Big Brother program. Not sure if they have that there. That's a good question. I'm your big brother. There you go. But I'll never refer to you as children. I once worked with I once had a boss that referred to the team as kids and children. He was not my favorite boss. Waited till you were 40 to have a kid? Still kind of envious of those of you who went the other way. Homestead, you mean did it sooner or just didn't? Nicodemus said you have furry kids. You're still a parent. Well, that's an actual dog. He's not wearing an outfit. That's an actual dog. You can refer to you guys as clown. No, I would never do that. You guys are awesome. You're not clownses. said, I love my daughter more than anything, but I also really value free time, which I have very little of these days. Stoic said my wife suddenly started wanting kids in the last year, so we're at an awkward impasse. Oh man, you in the no kids camp? Crazy. Somebody's watching this VOD for the first time. Like, this is the first Eminem VOD they've ever watched. And it's like, our topics today are, it's like, oh, well, at least we didn't get into politics or religion. Sorry if you're watching this VOD for this is your first Eminem VOD. Usually we're not so serious. Usually we're playing the game and killing skeletons and shit. And Free Snake says, I don't have kids, but I have a good childhood friend who has 2 healthy sons. I feel proud that he has them, oddly. Nothing odd about that. Sounds pretty awesome. He's your friend. Well, Stoic. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. My ex, the woman I moved to Germany with years ago, she really wanted to have kids. But the challenge was she also really wanted to go back and have her kids play with her friends' kids. Like, she wanted to have kids because her friends were having kids back in the US. I was like, I can't really just quit my job and move back to the US. Sorry. Nicodemus, thank you for your generosity. Samatras, Orshi, Hallfunk, you have benefited from that generosity. Congrats. Speaking of kids, I've got to take a German integration course. Or starting early next year, because it's like an 8-month course. And I am super not excited about that. I don't do very well in school settings. Nicodemus says, I have enjoyed the stream, game design, and words of wisdom on life in general. You guys are pretty wise. Oh my goodness. Why are you being so crazy, grass? Riker, I feel you on that one. Come here for Sean's essential deep voice. I appreciate that. Let me hit save. Nicodemus. Mm-hmm. You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful with them IMOs. Tame Nova, there's actually there's a pretty interesting book on that topic. If you haven't read it, you can watch his stuff on YouTube, I guess. But crap, what is the here? Let me find the name of it. This is Audible. Library. It's gonna take me 1 minute. I'm gonna get it for you. Library. It is The End of the World is Just the Beginning by Peter Zahan. The End of the World is Just the Beginning by Peter Zahan. According to all of that, according to all of his data, he's basically, all the data shows that we are actually in a massive, we're primed for a massive population collapse, and that's going to impact supply chains and everything as we know it. That's his thesis. I'm not going to debate it. We're not going to dwell on it here because it'll get into all sorts of topics that we don't usually hit on here. But if you're interested in that, I will say it's an interesting book, even if you don't agree with it. Lots of interesting data, and he's one of those guys where I don't agree with him on everything, but I definitely enjoyed that read or listen. So yeah, one more time for those of you not paying attention. The End of the World is Just the Beginning. Peter Zahan. And I mean, you don't have to get the book. I mean, in theory, you can just check him out on YouTube or whatever. There's plenty there. Man, I love this long sort of ambient track that Robert's made for us that's playing in the background. Big fan. Big fan. Homestead said, this book, Merry Christmas to me. Thanks for the recommendation. You're very welcome. I've always got some audiobook running in the background. Especially on topics like that. Kaicho said, so, talking about population, how is Eminem's prediction on their server population caps and averages? What are your goals for a stable population? I think we're probably not going to look to reinvent the wheel on this one too much. Look at a variety of other games. And then what we'll do is we'll just kind of test our assumptions based off of, one, what we're seeing as total available population size, right? If 200 of you show up and want to play the game, then we're not super concerned about the fact that we can't support 20,000 on a server. If we yeah, Riker said no one's reinvented the wheel in 25 years. New World said they aim for 10k servers and launch with 1.5k. Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about sort of starting with the idea of like 3K. So 3K CCU, not total available accounts on a server, right? So we'll see. All of this is one of those things that a lot of times, to me at least, and maybe I'm just a big dummy on this. To me at least, it feels like a lot of numbers get sort of banties about. What is the actual term there? Get discussed, and they're pretty speculative. For us, how about we hit our goal of sometime before the end of this year, we at least get a handful of people bandied about. Thank you, Huffunk. So let's start with getting a handful of people. We're going to try to get some friends and family in to just test out the flow first. That'll be the first group. We won't necessarily be going, we'll say that it's happening, but we're not going to be like, hey, everybody, run around and tell everybody that you're in M&M or whatever, right? Because I know a lot of people have been waiting and stuff. So we're just going to get some, space monkeys to fire into space to start with, and we're going to see what breaks. In doing this, we've already found some issues with starting with Sola. It looks like there may be some issues with us being able to easily sort of turn off and on access and all this other shit. So we're looking at another solution at the moment that may help us with that. Once we've got that solution in place, then we'll get a very limited number of folks the ability to access things, and we'll set that up. If that goes well, then we'll be looking at getting a nice bigger chunk, and we'll just have to decide how big that chunk's going to be. And it could be that we're like, screw it, we're crazy, and we have the ability to easily manage it. We may do just like for this time period, kind of the way the eco guys have, Evercraft Online. We're like, hey, just have people pop in, right? And we may do that and just have it be fairly limited in terms of time, so that you crazy people can only do so much. And then we'll analyze that data and kind of see, is everything holding up properly? How do we feel? And then over time, we'll just expand that more and more. And then we'll get a good sort of verification on the technical side that things are holding up. And then it's really going to come down to, as we're doing that in the proof of concept area, we can get a feel for what that feels like. And then use that to kind of project out what we think is going to happen after proof of concept. So, you know what I mean? We could say that we want to be able to support X thousand CCU on a server, but that's all just talk until we've got a better handle on the number of zones that we're actually going to have up when we go in air quotes live, etc. Nicodemus said, for proof of concept, what is the current level cap goal? Levels 1 to 10. Will all races classes be available, fleshed out in POC? I think it's unlikely. And, unless something wild happens, I think it's unlikely that every race will be available in proof of concept. Classes, we've already got mostly going. And that includes trickier stuff, like Ollie's been doing some work on bards, etc. And some of the newer ones like Spellblade but like we're playing Inquisitors. I've played one a couple times, etc. Level range, I think it's going to come down to really just as we're digging in, like Luna and Nick and I, and putting content in, we'll see what we can just support from like an actually is fun to do standpoint. But I wouldn't be shocked if in proof of concept we're supporting at least like 40 levels, 40 plus levels. But it'll be a more limited number of races, because races are unique art. Classes are data, so we can go a little bit faster and harder on that. we're currently putting starter quests in for every class. So Luna's doing Druid and Shaman. And I just wrote up, and in theory I could actually be doing some implementation right now on Necro and Shadow Knight. And yeah. So mainly just limited by our assets. Yep. That's the main thing, which the theory has been that if that continues to be our primary limiter for proof of concept, right? We're in here, we're playing, we've got the classes, we've got some representative content, and really we're just finding that we want to be able to make more art faster. Then that helps us build our case for what we want to do after proof of concept, what that will entail logistically and potentially cost-wise, and then help us work through the solution of how do we address that. Let's see. Homestead said P99 Green has like 500 non-peak. It feels alive. None. I know there's a response to that from Riker. I haven't played in quite a while just because I've been busy here. When I was playing, it was like it didn't feel too off. I mean, it wasn't like we could find a group anywhere outside of Unrest or whatever with our lobies or and I'm playing, you know, from Germany some pretty non-peak hours. It didn't feel horrible. But then peak, it definitely felt pretty dope. Goblin says, I'm trying to keep up. It's hard. No, you're doing fine. It's an impossible task for, you know, what do we have now? 4, 5 people on the art side to blast out an entire world's worth of content in a short amount of time, also working part-time. So you guys just keep doing what you're doing. We'll get proof of concept into a nice shape. And that's going to give us a lot of data to use moving forward. It's also going to give us a nice sort of case to go to wherever we go ultimately for the cache or approach to make more. You guys are actually, you know, you guys are moving along at a really nice clip. Fizbin Gamer says, hi Sean, do you have a minute to quickly talk about how inventory and or bags work in the back end? As a player, I've always been curious about how this works. If you don't have time, no problem at all, love to stream. Thank you. I'm not blowing off your question. I'm actually going to recommend that you ask that in the M&M Discord so that Ollie or Gary or John or Keith or somebody on the tech side can answer that for you, because I don't even know where to start explaining it in terms of the back end. Pantrax, howdy. Dargith says, asked how, sorry, I'm playing with my dog down here. Hey, buddy. Oh, first Remez, so I don't forget it. I'm like a dad to you? He will definitely IMV one of his sons. I almost thought you said IVU for whatever reason. I was like, I will give one of my sons invisibility to undead. Dargith asked, how expansive do you think the starter class quest will be? I like some of the later EQ starter quests that got you a full set of gear and gave you some direction for the first 10 levels without being overly directive. So far, not that. not that deep, not that. I was talking to Luna about it, and my recommendation is that we start with like 3 quests for the for each class, and basically it gives you a touch point for every like 5 levels or so. So essentially your first quest, another one around 5ish, another one around 10ish, that, you know, promotes you going to other areas, exploring some, and ideally putting you in situations where you're going to have to rely on other players to get some help. But my concern with doing something like a full set of armor, all right, so that's, you know, if it's something where it's a redoable, kind of a bone chips quest or something, and then you can get some patchwork or something like that out of it, great, I guess. But my thought would be, wouldn't it be better for you to get that patchwork off of drops, or get that off of, you know, get some armor off of other players that are already doing crafting at a lower level? So we don't want to be like heavily quest driven, and my concern is if you do it for the beginning of the game, then you've established a pattern and an expectation that you know, folks are being like, oh, where are the rest of my quests? Nah. So, but we'll see how that feels. It's just, we do want to get in a number of like fun one-off quests, and have quests in there for you to discover, and, you know, oh shit, here's where Scarab armor comes from, that kind of thing. But having it just be like you keep going back to your guild or whatever and getting another thing to do, just as much as that was okayish in Kunark, I don't know. That's just my thoughts at the moment. We'll see how it evolves. Bisman, you're welcome. I do feel there's value in having some level of deterministic loot and gear progression, but you're right that a crafting game loop that's actually worthwhile can fill that gap. I would, you know, I would counter with, I feel like the more common it is for you to, for there to be like this deterministic gear progression, the more it starts to it takes away some of the mystery, and it takes away some of the need to kind of go here and there for you know, and hit different camps to fill out that next kind of tier of loot, and then just save maybe not even a full set, but have a subset of like a class of loot, like kind of like the way the Soul Row quest did or whatever. It's just, yeah, I think for me personally, again, we'll see where we land on this. I feel like, you know, the more it's, all right, well then you go here for your next tier, and then you go there for the next tier. I just, but again, those are my current opinions. Stoic said, have you watched the How EverQuest Got It Right video? They mentioned how UQ's quest felt like an adventure because you can just randomly hail some NPC and they may ask for as many of a particular item as you can bring them, instead of like kill these 5 boars once and then never again. If I watched it, I don't remember that specific part of it. but that makes sense to me. Do you anticipate having stats on non-magic items, or is there going to be a clear delineation between magic and non-magic? Like a non-magic breastplate could have a lot of defense, but would never give additional attributes. Would such an item be worth using, or are magic items going to be better in all cases? I don't know that the delineation between magic and non-magic for a lot of those items is that big a deal beyond fiction, I guess. It's a big deal if you're fighting wisps and other magic creatures. I thought it was only a big deal if you needed to kick them or use a weapon. I didn't... Maybe I'm wrong on this, but if you're fighting a magical creature, if you're wearing non-magical armor, I didn't know that... Basically, it was anything that would count as a weapon. Was the stuff that was incoming damage modified in any way? Yeah, but if I'm wearing a magical breastplate, that didn't allow me to hit a magical creature. I had to have a magical weapon, or magical boots, or magical gloves, right? Whatever's making contact with the creature. That's what I'm saying, that delineation of magic versus non-magic on other stuff. Riker, there's a video of Josh Strife Hayes playing EverQuest. I think it came out within the last month and a half, and he actually really enjoyed EQ to his surprise and satisfaction. I haven't followed up to see if he kept playing, but he was playing EQ live and actually had a lot of nice things to say about it. Vax says, what customization are you planning to have within a class, if any? Is the only difference between, say, two warriors going to be racing gear? Primarily gear, and then you'll just have to check back with us as we go. We've been kicking things around, but I'm not in a position at the moment to really expand on that much. Search around. If you search around our Discord, you can see some of this stuff. I know there's been some discussion of it in the past. Plump Helmet said EQ Quest did it right because there were no steps that would break a party up. Never had to worry about if someone was going to leave the party because they needed to go update their journal to get the next item to drop. Update. You just adventure and got dropped. I mean, there are a number of things that are sort of byproducts of the simplicity of those systems that wind up making it feel pretty, I don't know, sort of natural, good. I mean, we just hit on another one earlier. Who was that? We was just talking about the boar. Stoic was. And that held up until we put flagging in the plop, and then, man, that caused all sorts of problems for a little while. Hey, Sakai. Belpaster said, I'm sure it's far from being a thing, but Ali mentioned like a year ago about maybe trying out different item materials as a thing that mattered, like abilities that required or got extra benefits if you used a wooden weapon, stuff like that. Is that still being considered? It hasn't come up in recent discussion, but I think that's also a byproduct of the fact that we're just really focused on like solidifying some of the fundamentals so that we can get more playtesting done. Riker said Pop felt way over designed. In some ways it definitely was. But there are a couple reasons for that. I could give you some excuses. One reason for that is we were doing a lot of very crazy stuff before we actually had the tools or capability to do that crazy stuff in Pop. And then some of it may just come down to like an experience thing. Keep in mind the bulk of the Pop team were working in customer service months or a year before we made Pop. So we did not have time to become master game designers yet. There's Ollie. Ollie has risen. What's going on, dude? Pantrack said, how long you've been working on this game? We've been working on it for just over 2 years. If you go to our YouTube page, we've got a 2-year retrospective that we put up a couple months ago. One of the things VDC Retro did not like about Pop was it was hard to get camps with named and loot drops unless you were flagging. There's just a lot of random mobs and not much else for the free to enter zones. Oops. Trying to oh man, did I just do that thing? I just did that thing. There's some key combination that I do on occasion that just makes like navigating the scene view a giant incredible pain in the ass, and I basically need to just log out of Unity and then restart it. Thankfully, whatever setting I've been changing doesn't persist. The zones you could do without any flags were really boring, is pretty much what he's trying to say, I think. Yeah, that was, you know, that was part of the whole, you should then get flagged, and then you could be less bored. We wanted you to maybe get a little bit better. And if you were incapable of that, then continue to play some of the other zones. And I know that's not fair. Sorry, Night Harbor is broken currently. It's grown too big for our britches, Ollie said. Yeah, so we need to look at how we're going to solve that pretty quickly. And the inability to get on the server. Solve it today. Awesome. it's not a bad philosophy. It just didn't work, especially for new players who kind of had to use those zones to level in the mid-60s, but didn't have the connections get flagged, or maybe they didn't want to raid. Well, apparently there weren't many of those players. Otherwise, they could all get together and then form their own little club of people that weren't able to get flagged and get into the zones. It was a weird one because it was like it was either kind of too elitist and didn't allow for enough people to play the content, or which would then mean that there was a lot of people hanging out that couldn't get in, thus because it was elitist, and or it was that there was a significant number of people that could get in and get flagged and get to the content, but then there was a small crew of people that couldn't. So I think we get maybe, I don't know. Which is, you know, I mean, it was kind of which I can understand. It's probably similar to I can't find a group, right? And I'm sitting in a zone with 8 different people playing 8 different classes that could fill out a group, all going looking for group. For me, I never had a problem finding a group, even outside of my guild, just because if I saw people looking for a group in OOC in the area that I wanted to be in, or if I was kind of looking to see who was available on the server, I would put a group together. But that was just my experience. Experiences all differ. But yeah, I'm not gonna say that it wasn't very raid focused and sort of high-end centric and all that stuff. Feel like flagging is kind of lazy design, getting content behind gears better. Flagging was put in to essentially allow people to sort of earn their way through the content without just straight zerging it the way they were zerging everything up to that point, because we didn't have instancing figured out. That way you're not just arbitrarily keeping people out of content when they click something. But we weren't arbitrarily keeping people out of content. We were saying that you had to complete a piece of content before you could do the next piece of content. And we didn't have enough power overhead to basically just like quadruple the player power to ensure that we could strictly gate it based off of power, and especially if we had no means of controlling the player variable, like the player count variable. So what we need to do is not only, because if we're not using instancing, which didn't exist yet, and we're not using flagging, then what we're saying is we need to make the content so hard that people, when they show up with 300 of their closest friends to zerg the content to then get the items, that would then, and I understand, it would only be X number of people out of 300 who would get those items. But when they're consistently doing that, then those people would basically be geared up. And in theory, I mean, you could zerg the sleeper, right? So that was the thought at the time. Whether or not it was lazy design, it may not have been good design, but to call something lazy design, especially given the period at which that design occurred, namely we didn't have a lot of point of references, the amount of expansion that we made in 8 months with a brand new team, to say it's lazy design is kind of a lazy comment. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh, that was just lazy design. Like we showed up the one time we showed up for work that week when we weren't out like smoking weed and playing video games. We were like, you know what? Let's just put flagging in. Like it was a shitload of work. It may not have been good design, but it definitely wasn't lazy. We worked our ass off for 8 months to make up for the fact that the experienced design team just left to make a new company. And then we put out an expansion that a decent number of people liked. So, not to bust your balls, but it's just one of those things that every once in a while, when something's like, yeah, you got, you know, there's certain like descriptors where I'm like, No, I'm probably responding to it more sort of like abrasively than I mean to. But when you call something lazy design, right? It's the same as like when people say like the developers don't care. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, so it's always a bit like, oh, it's better to say I don't agree with the design or I didn't like the design, but we were super limited. Like we didn't have very sophisticated tools. We didn't have very good points of reference to go, oh, well, let's do it the way that WoW did it. Because, well, WoW didn't exist yet, I don't think. And they're looking at us to figure out how to do things. Yeah, and I'm not, don't worry, I'm not like I said, my response is probably coming off more abrasive than I want it to, but it is one of those areas where I do tend to be like, let me be clear. Yeah, it's interesting because Pop will forever be one of those expansions that we all have hindsight now, and so there's a lot of opinions on like both Pop and Eldon where people are like, now that we've got 20 years of hindsight and other MMOs to sort of reference, we can point out like why the plane of knowledge books weren't a good solution for the problem, or why flagging was problematic, or why instancing isn't great for the type of MMOs that we like or whatever. But at the time, we just didn't have any of that easy hindsights. So we were trying to do some shit for the first time, and some of it were like, this may not work very well for this, but let's see what we can do. POC in the books just felt like a good way to guarantee sales. Nope. POC in the books were to deal with the fact that we ran analysis on how many people were using the starter cities for like 2 or 3 months, and come to find out, absolutely nobody was using them except for people that logged into the MMO for the first time to play this game they heard about where all these other people exist, and they would run around an empty city and not see any other people for the entirety of their experience until they decided they were just going to quit within the first week. So what POC was meant to do more than anything was get people together so that when you're a brand new player who's coming onto one of those servers for the first time because you had read about these new things called MMOs and Forbes or Playboy or whatever, you would see other players. It was just mainly there to create social friction. We had no idea that whether or not they would impact sales. Now, they were meant to impact retention, which, you know. Glam Shatterskull said, old Deokvet here. I don't have very good opinions on WoW. Fair enough. I'm sure I missed some stuff up there earlier in my rant. And Belfaster. As I scroll up, again, apologies if my responses felt abrasive. Yeah, so we really wanted to focus on adding content to the old zones, Riker. The problem was we only had a team size that was... We tried several times to like create a live team and an expansion team. And we just didn't have the capacity on the live side to really revamp zones. while also working on expansions, and expansions were a mandate from the company. It wasn't like, if you would ask the team if they would rather be working on an expansion or just breathing life into the old game, we probably mostly would have said breathing life into the old game. I think I've mentioned a few times before, I worked on a couple of the zone revamps, like my boss and I, Rich Waters, we did Chardock 2.0, and we basically, it was one of those rare instances where, you know, we got a request from above to go in and you know, revamp a zone, so we picked Chardock and knocked that out in a weekend. John Quiley crosses Belfaster off the list. No, John. No. Yeah, so it's interesting. The BDC Retro mentioned keys for zones feels more earned token, more tangible if it's in the role playing. Trust me, whatever the decision was at the time that we went with flagging, and I think it was just because I think we didn't want you to have like whatever it was, 20 keys, and we thought it would be a neat idea to have it be flags, but we hadn't fully fleshed out the user experience on it or whatever, and we didn't have key rings at the time. I think that's why we wound up going with something like flags. It's amazing like how so many decisions are just kind of built on weird shit like that. There's a giant stop sign when you go to click on a door because you didn't do a certain thing. Everything else is pretty much unfiltered, wheels off freedom. Newbies getting smashed by guards. Priest Discord, Ray mobs if they're solo. Doesn't make sense how it feels opposite a lot of... yeah, so to the thing that you're saying though, with it being all planar, we thought that it wouldn't be that weird. I don't know, man. Like, Planar Tranquility was my baby, and I thought that, you know, it'd be cool to have. I mean, there was fiction there, right? Like the idea to be able to get into all of those areas. It was this special place where you've got these essentially doors, right? Because I mean, it's pretty much like entering Seb. Only you didn't have to have the key on you, right? You got attuned to be able to enter the plane through this magical sort of representation or construct that we put in Plane of Tranquility. So, yeah. Belfaster said, after the stream, Sean's going to cross me off Tester's list like in Billy Madison. When Billy apologized to Steve Buscemi for bullying him. Buscemi puts on lipstick after he crosses Billy off his list. No, I'd be putting you on that list. Buscemi's list you did not want to be on. But I will be putting on lipstick, and either putting you on a list or taking you off, or maybe just thinking about you as soon as the stream's over. Putting on lipstick and stroking the mech. Hot. You know what? I'm gonna let my dog hop on my lap so that then he's been tricked into he just wants to be on stream for a minute, and then I'm gonna plop him in his crate. Come on up. Say hi to everybody. It's that time of the stream where you get to say hi to everybody and cover me in fur. Oh, buddy. Smells so good. Yeah. Throwing a hot tub, we got 2K viewers. Riker, I never remember like what Chardock was like before we revamped it. So I'm always hesitant to take credit for all the cool shit that's in there after we revamped it. But I thought we did a pretty good job. If I had my choice to revamp a zone back then, what would I have chosen? Well, Rich and I picked Chardock for a reason. We really thought that one could be cool. If I could revamp another one, and it may have been revamped, but I didn't do it. I don't know. I'd like to hit all of the monster cities, like Runny Eye would be fun, Split Ball would be fun, doing like a really detailed revamp of Droga, Nurga. Normal size Malamute. Just huge, man. Yeah. Droga never got revamps around Pop. Were they super detailed revamps or just kind of touched up? All right, he's being good, so similar to Chardock 2.0. Okay, cool. Yeah, I forgot. Hey, buddy. Oh man, I was gonna plop you in the crate, but you're being such a good boy now. Okay. Oh, now you're breaking the rules. Now you're getting a little squirrely, my little friend. But still good. Tommy Knox said I would revamp Downer. That zone is brutal for the level, and it was pretty bad. Can't even remember it, dude. Nightblaze the Wizard. That is a badass name. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I found the revamps to be fun to do and a really healthy part of the game. One of the reasons why we're going so crazy with Night Harbor, and then also just making some specific decisions with regards to constraint of available functionality or convenience and things like that with Night Harbor, is just that idea of trying to create a world in which our zones can retain their value much longer and feel a bit more dynamic. Evolve with the server. So we'll see if this if the ideas actually work, but we've got a lot of stuff that we'll be playing around with. You like the idea that players remember the game at times better than devs? For me, it was a Tuesday. Yeah, Tame Nova. I mean, ultimately, once players get in, they know the game. It's sort of the game in air quotes, holistically, or just from a player's point of view or experience. Players are always going to know the game better than the developers. Now they're not going to know all of the details, or there's going to be a lot of urban legends and weird bullshit that's believed, but it's unavoidable that folks that are spending that much time sort of in there are going to know a lot of stuff that the developers don't necessarily know. And then folks, first of all, your retention on most things is probably better than mine, let alone just the game. Sub2 said, I had a question I posted earlier, but I missed it. No, you can always repeat questions. I ramble and get distracted and play with dogs and stuff on stream, so you should always feel fine repeating questions. You were watching a VOD yesterday where we're going over oh yeah, that was a good question too. I saw it, and again, I'll see these great questions, be like, oh, I should answer that, and then continue to ramble about some other bullshit. Pick on Belfast or whatever I was doing. So we're talking about mud-based objects, like the well. How prevalent will that be in Eminem's core game mechanics? I mean, at the end of the day, the core is, you know, explore, kill things, gain experience, take their loot. But we want to get, as many sort of mud interactions with the statics that we've put in that system. Things of that nature, interaction with the world and like quirky, interesting ways to interact with the world. Get as much of that in as possible. That's just really, it shouldn't feel like you're having to play the sort of interactive object game, right? Where you just feel compelled to constantly be looking and clicking on shit. But if we do them right, that system should really make the game feel, you know, a fair bit deeper and add a nice layer of mystery and stuff like that. So, we've got a ways to go on, you know, getting a bit more mastery as designers in using those tools and sort of making sure that all the systems are integrated as well as it can be. And especially with our crazy list of trade skill types. So, but yeah, I think it'll be a good tool long term, and hopefully people enjoy it and appreciate it and have some fun with it. I mean, again, nothing should distract from kind of the camp and kill part of the game, but I'm hoping that having those types of interactions available make the game feel richer for you. Taking zone experience modifier of it, I haven't heard mention of High Hole Keep and the Goblin Basement as inspiration for anything up to this point. Do you plan to sprinkle little pockets of content like that throughout? We tend to, or at least I on streams tend to hit some of the same themes over and over again, but little examples like that are, I think they're great. And absolutely, I mean, we're already doing weird little stuff like that, right? Like it's not a one-for-one sort of example, but even in the inn, you know, we've already got little starter content where there's the grain beetles in one of the basement rooms in the inn, right? So having little pockets in the zones, having little like outdoor dungeons or little pocket dungeons and stuff has been on our mind since day one. Even all the way back to like Ollie having the original 2-room test dungeon mini crypt. It's like it was literally 2 or 3 rooms. We've talked about still keeping that as a zone. You know, so you just go in. Maybe we'll keep that over in this one area. I'll show you. Oh, let me put him in his crate for a minute. Request dog room, also cat room. Yeah, we do have both. Pattis has made so many different rooms. How do you get flagged for that? Well, you're gonna have to do like 12 different raids in the proper sequence. I'm messing with you. Yeah, so we're thinking about just keeping mini crypt right here at this original. This was like the first dungeon entrance back in the day. We have a you guys have probably forgotten about by now. We had a hidden zone line over here as well. Bloop 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 bloop. If you get good faction with Ashira, they should let you pet them. I hope that's not a euphemism. Any intention to have clickies? Yes. Lots of intention. Clickies are a big team fan favorite. And even some clickies with charges that have means of recharging them. That's not too crazy. I think Nick and Ollie are going to have you guys covered on that front. Did I hear you say previously you're not instancing the dungeons? C-Jack, that is correct. No instancing. Two groups enter, one group leaves. Have we not? Have we learned nothing over the years? Yeah, classic trains. We've already shown our ability to create trains. All right. So what I may do is I think I'm probably good here for now. With a tiny little adjust. I would have probably messed with this mesh more, to be honest with you. But this whole one mouse up, get to hold on busy thing is not, it's not really working for me. It's not fun. So I think this is good enough to kind of fix the one thing that was bugging me. It's just like if you're walking through here, it just kind of ran into a wall. So now it's a little bit better there. I'll throw a little rock over here as well to guide the eye. And then I can check this in. So things that I'm going to be working on before we see each other again on Thursday is I'm going to be tossing in Necromancer and Shadow Knight newbie quests. And then I know Luna is working on Druid and Shaman newbie quests, which is cool. I need to write up and then also implement Inquisitor and Spellblade. And so we'll be able to hop back into server on Thursday. So those of you that may be new here and you haven't seen gameplay and stuff, come back on Thursday. Unless something really odd happens, we'll be playing. We'll be running around. You can see how the game looks and stuff. If you don't want to wait until then, check out some of the videos on YouTube. All of last week's should be up. Luna is the one that was big on AO, right? I know she references it a ton, so, but she's also got a pretty broad base when it comes to MMOs. But she's definitely been the one that's been referencing AO the most lately. Cold-Blooded said, will there be layers? Possibly. For certain unique content, there may be some sort of layers, but they'll still be public, if that makes sense. Like, bad example, but if you were to like step into the spirit realm and it's a different layer on top of this, that might be a thing, but it would still be a public layer. It wouldn't be an instance. Sans Remorse. If you're asking chat, they may have feedback for you. If you're asking us, that's a good one to throw out on our Eminem Discord. The person that usually is responding to those ideas and conversations is Nick. But he's literally was heading to the hospital today for his first baby experience. So he may or may not be a little slow on responding. I've got the feeling once they've got the baby and the baby's making baby noises and all that stuff all night long and doing the things that babies do, he'll probably be on Discord answering questions at all odd hours. So yeah. There was something else up here that I wanted to answer. So the only thing that I've mentioned, I think it's on the FAQ, on the website's FAQ. Here's our website if you haven't been there before. Check it out. Definitely check out the updates part of it. Check out all the updates because there's tons of concept art and images and other stuff that you probably haven't seen anywhere else. Anyways, the one thing that I've mentioned as a possibility, something I want to play with, is the idea of like being able to lock down a space, but it still wouldn't be an instance. It would be more of a controlled space. So back in the day, I implemented the Burrower Beast event when I was like a design apprentice in Luckland. And once that event kicked off, you couldn't get in, right? Like, there was, well, before you guys figured out how to break it because it was put together in such a hacky ass manner. But anyway, the intent was that invisible man / burrow or whatever I put in that doorway would be punting people back out of the room. So it would keep people in the room, and it would, knock out any reinforcements into that space. And so, having a space where we can control the player count variable to just keep it as a group, but not having it be instant, so there wouldn't be 5 of those running in parallel. It'd still be essentially open world and, everything that comes along with that. That's been discussed. I've thrown it out there as a thing for us to try and see if we feel like it feels okay to us and you know, still sort of hits the intent of what we're wanting to do. So yeah, you can expect us to play with that, but in terms of just instancing the content, no. Burp, burp, burp. So yeah, Thursday, come back by and we will play. We'll run through some of the new stuff. We'll show off some of the stuff that was shown off last week for those of you that are new. And there's a couple little things that I'll be playing around with mechanically with the new quests. We've got some functionality, like I said at the beginning of the stream, spending some of my time just documenting some of the new functionality because Ali has put in a ton of new shit for us to use. Whether it be, you know, more documentation on the mud interactions, the statics, use of volumes, conditional drops, which we'd be using. We both Luna and I want to use conditional drops for the various quests that we put in, and so we'll be playing around with some of that stuff as well on Thursday, hopefully. Capsdeal said, similar to how Nagi and Vox boot players over a certain level, I played on an emo server for a while that had stuff across all level ranges that capped at like 12, 30, etc. And even if you had buffs from someone higher, you were immediately disqualified from rewards. So the idea with this is slightly different in that it's more about just trying to when we do this, if we do this, it'd be really about trying to lock down that environment to create a very specific situation and for that group. But the use of it, it should be one of those things where it's used very sparingly and only to create a specific type of situation, because I think one of the fun things about the old school design was just all of the weird ways that, you know, everyone who played those games figured out how to do things and break stuff and play the game, right? Like that was so much of the fun of it. Like, oh, we can pull this over here. Like even during that period as a, you know, designer that was implementing content, it was such a fun cat and mouse game. It's like, oh, son of a bitch, how did they even pull that off, right? Like, and you know, years and years later, coming back and hearing, like when I first started streaming and talking to people that were playing EQ, some of the stuff that hadn't been broken while I was still sort of paying attention back in the day that had then since been broken, where it's like, oh, we just pulled that to the zone. I'm like, how did you pull that to the zone? That shouldn't be possible, right? I don't know, man. I think that's part of the fun of it. I didn't watch the full thing. I started watching a little bit, but I was watching some Asmongold video while I was like getting ready to pop in here. It was a video on something about MMOs. Anyways, and the guy that he was reacting to was just talking about like how every MMO is fun the first week because there's just so many weird things like breaking and the shit that you can do. And it was yeah, I think it's kind of in that vein of that sense of being able to come in and find new ways to make the game yours by playing it and breaking it and trying new stuff. So If it's too predictable, then I don't know, maybe it gets boring. John said, only places I'd use instancing is player guild housing, personal quests if they exist. Instancing is easier way to make content instead of making multiple plays. We're currently just using Ollie's volume system, even for like playing around with housing. He was showing me when he put it in, if I don't have permission to be in that space, it just kind of throws me back out of the space, but it's not an instance. So far, even for that stuff, we haven't felt like there's a need to go to something like instancing. Dumion said, hi, I feel like doing something like that poses some risks in game design though. People be trolls. Would have to think of some sort of timer or something so they don't complete it in X time or something. It opens up for other players. Otherwise, you get a situation where one group control the rest of the player base by never letting them into something. Yeah, I mean, anytime you're doing that type of content, there definitely is a consideration to, the potential for players to like monopolize it or lock it down in a weird way. So usually there's a fail timer or conditions change over the course of the event or whatever. Do you think having a level sync is a good idea for higher level players to help lower level players? You mean having people be able to drop their level down to play? I don't have a strong opinion on it. I can definitely see situations where it's good. Though the type of assistance that I've always preferred, to be honest, is the simpler form where it's like when I was recently playing on P99 and like T-Con and other folks would come over and just kind of hang out and they'd just be higher level, but they'd buff me or out of group heal me or other sort of Twinkie type stuff. And it just feels more natural, and I just am so much of a bigger fan of like that feel. Sure, there's mentoring systems and other stuff that can be tried, but I really like that ability for people to remain powerful and influence your experience. Yeah, and then you've got the ultra twinked alts and stuff that come on the scene, or you've got like ultra twinked alt with out of group whatever. Did I say in my opinion BDC retro? I'm screwed. After my whole in my opinion thing earlier, I'm so screwed every time I accidentally use it. Okay, new rule. I only meant in writing. I don't mean in rambling. Oh, okay. You're talking about your opinion. All right, then that's fine. Corthan says, I loved EQ because it felt like I had most of the freedoms of real life, but it was as safe space to try them out, buy, sell, investing in a business, in game, testing my social skills. Many MMOs these days try to solve those problems, ignoring that those problems are what make the genre unique. It's an interesting perspective. Yeah, I loved so much of the weird emergent shit that would come up back then. You'd have like just a random trader dude that all they did was trade. They didn't play the game. They just traded and made tons of cash. And I think I've mentioned like 100 times that we had one of those guys that we brought into our guild. And he was only like level 15 or something and was like the second richest guy on the server. He knew where all the items were. That type of thing's super cool. So having systems that allow for more and more of that's what we've been talking about with like the pack animals and the trade containers, the escrow containers that allow people to trade for you, actively trade for you and stuff like that. So definitely want to lean into that as much as we possibly can to reinforce that sense of space, sense of place. So Cool. All right, we're creeping up on 5 o'clock. Like I said, those of you that are new here, usually I'm popping in and out of game. It's a little bit different of a stream today, just kind of poking around at some stuff. Because we're working out a bug that had me unable to get into game today. Plus, Pattis gave me permission to come in here and change this area a little bit. I should probably bake out the nav mesh before I check stuff in. But I'm going to keep this checked out for a little bit more and then get it in off stream. But yeah. I think we're good. So if you're new and you haven't been to our website, check out our website. Oh, thanks, Sean. The update section, I think, is underrated. Check out the updates, because even though they're older updates, doesn't mean that there's not concept art and other stuff that we just haven't had the time to pull out of those updates and put on, like in the images section. So check those out. There's little videos and concept art and screenshots and stuff that are really cool. If you're new and haven't checked out our YouTube, please check it out. If you do watch videos on YouTube, but you have not subscribed to the channel, please do, because if you don't mind, because it's a fun metric to have. We're working on the proof of concept now, but we need all of the metrics we can get to kind of go gauge the level of interest in what we're doing, right? So we've got Discord, which you can join here. So we can look at the number of people that are in our Discord. We can look at the number of people that have, subbed to YouTube. We can look at the number of people that are hitting our website and all that stuff. And those are good numbers for us to kind of bundle together and talk about. Maybe show other people at some point if we need to do that. Nicodemus said, emergent behavior is great for games, players creating their own stories. I officiated a wedding in Kanos once for a close friend. They exchanged in-game rings. They wore it until they maxed out their level 50 and then realized they needed that slot. So maybe vows are not as important as loot bonuses. Loot's very important. Yeah, guys. So 5 o'clock now. I'm gonna hop up here and knock some things out in real life and then get ready to cook dinner, and then I will be back on Thursday. Yep. Hey, Kimmery. See ya, Stoic. See ya, John. Later, MMO Pug. Bye, Tame Nova. See ya, Nicodemus. Belfaster. Again, it's all good, Belfaster. I'm going to put on some lipstick and put you on my list as soon as I'm done here. Cacao. Peace Dog. Sakai, you're very welcome. Thanks for being here. Elorm. Hell's Ridge. Pattis. Golden Glove. BDC Retro. And Rev. Always good to see you guys. Enjoy work, Rev. Aaron, hello and goodbye. Sorry I didn't say hello earlier. I saw you pop in though. Beer Chug, see you. Yeah, Nicodemus. Mechs will always be different for you from this day forward. Dargeth, see you. All right, I think that covers everybody that's going to say goodbye. Have a great one. Enjoy Hump Day tomorrow. And I will see you on Thursday.